Thank you for joining the channel today. My name is Brian Uppel, and I'm the president of Investing Insider. Today, we're going to interview the CEO and co-founder of a company called Fathom Nickel. I'm pretty excited about this interview. I've worked with the company for a while now. Just so you know, this is a sponsored video, so please check out our disclaimer at the bottom. We're not financial advisors. This is for educational purposes. And I think it'll be a good opportunity for you to add it to the watch list and watch the company as it progresses. Let's bring Brad in and begin the interview. Hey, Brad, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate taking the time to chat with us.
Well, thank you, Brian. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. So before we get into all the company details, why don't you just start off by giving us a little bit of information about yourself?
Well, as you mentioned, my name is Brad Bussche. I'm the CEO and president of Fathom Nickel. I'm also a co-founder of the company along with Ian Fraser, who's our VP Exploration. I'm a geologist by training, graduated from the University of Manitoba and with a BSc Geology Honors in 1985. And I've been involved in the resource exploration and development business for over 35 years. The last 20 years in various management and executive roles, mainly in publicly listed companies.
Fantastic. So can you give us some insight into Fathom, its genesis, its history, and focus?
As I mentioned, Ian and I are co-founders of Fathom, and we started the company in 2015 with a specific mandate to source projects that could supply minerals and metals needs to support the growing green movement, specifically the battery and electric vehicle demand. Fathom was a private company for about 6 years and supported mainly by investment from our management team, as well as some friends and family and a small circle of brokers. We used this time as a private company to mainly compile and evaluate and interpret all the historic data on the project and build a strong geological model and exploration plan with drill-ready targets for when the industry rebounded. In early 21, on the back of the rebounding industry and the growing demand for the battery EV materials, particularly nickel, Fathom completed a public listing on the CSE under the symbol FNI and raised approximately 11.15 million. Fathom is comprised of an experienced team with over 100 combined years of developing mining projects. In addition to Ian and myself, our management consists of Doug Porter, our CFO, and Manish Grigo, our Director of Corporate Development and IR. The board of directors is comprised of Ian and myself, plus 3 well-seasoned independent directors, John Morgan, Mark Cummings, and Eugene Chen.
That's fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, you're as an investor perspective, you're investing in the jockey, let alone the horse. So, I mean, it's definitely a good management team, and there's a lot of experience, as you said. But Brad, why focus on nickel as opposed to other metals like lithium?
Well, although there are a number of elements and metals that are important to the battery EV growth and development, we feel nickel is amongst the most critical and with the largest forecast demand increase. So a significant quantity of nickel is required for technologies currently being used and likely to be developed in the future. For the best performing EV batteries, each individual battery contains approximately 39 kilograms or 85 pounds of nickel. So given the global conversion to EVs in the coming decades, the demand for nickel sulfide should be here to stay.
It's fantastic. So can you give us a quick breakdown of the project, in particular where it's located, why you chose that area, and what makes the project so attractive?
Well, the project's located in Saskatchewan, Canada, Brian, and it's a very friendly mining jurisdiction, consistently ranked in the top 10. We also chose the area for a number of reasons. Firstly, we were familiar with the project itself and had extremely attractive grades and the composition of the metals was very important to our mandate. Primarily nickel, but also the copper, cobalt, and PGE contents. And secondly, Ian and I have a lot of experience working in Saskatchewan. So not only on the technical geology side, but a lot of experience with government permitting, logistics, stakeholder engagement and relations, and all of this, which is very invaluable when managing a project effectively in today's world.
No, that makes a lot of sense. The Alberta Lake project centers around the historic and very high-grade Rottenstone mine. Can you put those grades into context compared to other nickel, copper, palladium exploration projects, and maybe give us some comparables?
Okay. There are really very few primary nickel projects in the world that have PGE contents comparable to what was recovered at Rottenstone. Mm-hmm. So it's very rare and very unique. So two comparable deposits in terms of these high-grade associated PGEs are Norilsk in Russia and Glencore's Raglan in northern Quebec. So to get these PGEs, you need very large magmatic systems, which makes us believe Rottenstone is part of a very large nickel PGE magmatic system and has a lot of upside.
That's interesting, but how did such a high-grade asset become available to Fathom?
Well, Fathom Management's known about this, Brian, for a long time. In fact, over 20 years. Ian was responsible for sourcing the project for its previous owner, and who was focused on exploration of uranium. So it was a bit of a stranded asset in that company. Ian and I had always really liked it, wanted to obtain the project at some point for ourselves. And Fathom was able to negotiate a deal during a low in the nickel market in 2015. So since acquiring the original project, which was approximately 11,000 hectare land base, we've expanded the land base organically through staking to over 90,000 hectares, which is our Albert Lake project.
That's great. So, Brad, the project had historic production in the 1960s, but since then, there hasn't been a lot of advancement on the property. Can you give us some feedback as why that's the case and what work had been done prior to Fathom acquiring the project?
Yeah, as you said, there's very little work was done during this time frame. Mainly limited exploration to keep the title, but there were some exceptions. There was some detailed mapping and geophysical programs performed from 1990 to 92. There was some airborne geophysical surveys, some ground-based geophysical surveys, and intermittent drilling from 99 to 2008. And the reason for the relatively small amount of work included low nickel prices, underfunded exploration programs, project owners not having it as their primary focus, and really just a general lack of understanding of the type of geological setting and model required to host these type of magmatic nickel PGE deposits, such as what we see at Albert Lake.
Mm-hmm. So since Fathom acquired the project, can you tell us what work has been done and why?
Well, Fathom inherited a very large and very good geological database with the project. So as a private company, we, and with the assistance of some nickel experts in the industry, were able to recreate the geological setting. So the geology, the geophysics, and to some extent the geochemical signature or fingerprint of Rottenstone deposit was recreated, which is very important. So this is a sign of what it looked like prior to the original deposit and mine being exploited. So we now have a very good understanding of the signature and of these type of deposits, and understand the necessary structural traps these systems require for deposition of these nickel PGE metals. So as a private company, we invested a great deal of time and resource analyzing, interpreting, reinterpreting this historic data to better understand the model. So we now have a systematic exploration plan designed to move forward and make new discoveries.
Can you touch on that a bit more in terms of what is the exploration plans for the remainder of 2021 and getting into 2022? Are there specific targets that you've identified that you'll focus on?
So we're currently in an exploration program. Preliminary results from the summer field program have highlighted areas that we're doing additional follow-up prospecting and detailed soil geochemistry, and of course drilling. We're currently drilling. We started about 3 days ago, and we've got a number of targets that we generated from previous surveys, from our gradient mag survey, and where that corresponds and coincides with anomalous areas defined by gravity, borehole, electromag surveys, and previous surface and airborne electromagnetic and soil geochemistry. Or more concisely, just to put it in context, is targets developed from anomalies that were based on previous geological surveys. So the current program will continue until approximately the end of October, where we expect freeze up. Furthermore to this, beginning in late January 2022, utilizing the lake ice, we will follow up on successful drilling results generated from this current 2021 winter program. And we're planning a total of 6,000 meters of drilling in these two programs combined.
Brad, in your mind, what would success look like for the upcoming phase of drilling?
Okay, well, finding minerals deposit takes time. It's if we intersect the right host rock that and the right geochemistry within that host rock, and follow-up borehole geophysics indicates further conductivity, we're close to that. This is a real success. In this scenario, we would immediately drill a subsequent drill hole. If we intersect mineralized Rottenstone host rock, this is a very obvious success. And if we're very fortunate and the mineralized intersection has grades similar to Rottenstone, this is an enormous success and proof of concept of our geological model.
So the company's, in the early stages, you touched on this earlier that you've raised some cash, but what is the exact, or more or less, the cash position currently, and are you well positioned enough to deliver on your exploration plans?
Yeah, good question, Brian. So we currently have approximately 7.2 million Canadian in the bank, enough to run the company and fully fund its current exploration and drilling programs for this year and the winter 2022 program. So enough for the next two drilling campaigns.
That's fantastic. Brad, just looking at the market side of things, can you touch base on the current share structure for the company?
Okay, so Fathom currently has approximately 45 million shares outstanding, with support from both retail and institutional investors. Approximately 6.5 million of these shares are held by management and insiders. On a fully diluted basis, including options and warrants, there's about 56 million shares outstanding.
Okay, thanks for doing that. Brad, the last thing I wanted to ask you, a lot of the audience are based in the US as well as Canada. We've identified you're trading on the CSE under the symbol FNI. Do you have plans to be trading on the US exchange? Can you touch on that a bit?
Yeah, sure. So in addition to the CSS listing, we also have two other listings. So we have a coincident listing on the Frankfurt Exchange under the symbol 6Q5, and on the OTC in the US under the symbol FNICF. We're currently in the process of applying for the DTC eligibility for the US markets.
Oh, okay, perfect. I mean, that DTC application takes time, but I mean, it's good that you've already applied for it, and I'm hopeful, again, you can get that to our viewers, hopefully before the end of the year, but we'll get you to give us an update on that, hopefully soon. Lastly, Brad, how can viewers get in contact with yourself or the company going forward?
Well, shareholders can visit the company website at www.fathomnickel.com, www.cedar.com, for additional information on the company. This will include, you can get contact emails, which will be directed to the appropriate personnel in the company. Alternatively, you can reach out directly to Manish Grigo, our Director of Corporate Development and IR, at mgrigo, M-G-R-I-G-O, at fathomnickel.com, or myself, B. Vanden, B-V-A-N-D-E-N, at fathomnickel.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Brad, thanks so much for taking the time to tell us about the company. I think our viewers will be very excited about what they're hearing, and we'll touch base with you in the future for updates as the company gets more news.
Great. Thanks a lot, Brian, for listening to our story and putting this together.
No problem. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the notification bell, and provide feedback in the comment section below. We'll see you soon for the next video.